Imagine this. You're at a party surrounded by people. Music is playing, conversations are flowing, and laughter fills the air. Yet you feel a profound sense of isolation, like you're on the outside looking in. Your smile feels forced, your attempts at small talk seem hollow, and a wave of emptiness washes over you. This, my friends, is the paradox of loneliness in a crowd. We often associate loneliness with physical solitude, being alone in an empty room, miles away from anyone we know. However, loneliness is far more nuanced and complex. It's entirely possible, even common, to feel deeply lonely while surrounded by people in the midst of a bustling social gathering, or even within a seemingly happy relationship. This phenomenon highlights the crucial distinction between being alone and feeling lonely. One can be alone without feeling lonely, finding solace and contentment in their own company. Conversely, one can be surrounded by people yet feel utterly alone, disconnected, and unseen. This disconnect, this chasm between ourselves and others, is at the heart of the loneliness paradox. Loneliness, in its essence, is a subjective experience of social isolation and emotional disconnect. It's the gnawing feeling of emptiness that arises when our inherent need for meaningful connection goes unmet. This need for connection is as fundamental to our well-being as food, water, and shelter. It's woven into the very fabric of our being, driving us to seek out social bonds and meaningful relationships. When this need for connection is thwarted, we experience loneliness. This can manifest in various ways, from a mild sense of unease to a deep, pervasive feeling of isolation and despair. The severity and duration of loneliness can vary greatly depending on individual circumstances, personality traits, and life experiences. It's important to note that loneliness is not a sign of weakness or a character flaw. It's a universal human emotion that we all experience at some point in our lives. Recognizing and understanding loneliness is the first step towards addressing it and fostering healthier, more fulfilling connections. When discussing loneliness in social settings, it's crucial to consider the role of individual differences, particularly the introvert-extrovert spectrum. Introverts, often energized by solitude and reflection, may thrive in smaller, more intimate gatherings. They may find large, boisterous crowds overwhelming and draining, leading to feelings of loneliness despite being surrounded by people. Extroverts, on the other hand, typically draw energy from social interaction and thrive in the company of others. However, even extroverts can experience loneliness in a crowd, especially if they feel a lack of genuine connection or if their social interactions lack depth and meaning. It's important to remember that introversion and extroversion exist on a spectrum, and most people fall somewhere in between these two poles. Understanding our own social preferences and tendencies can help us navigate social situations more effectively and minimize feelings of loneliness. In our hyper-connected world, technology plays a paradoxical role in our experience of loneliness. On one hand, technology has granted us unprecedented access to information and social connection. We can connect with friends and family across the globe, join online communities based on shared interests, and forge new relationships through social media platforms. On the other hand, technology can exacerbate feelings of loneliness by creating a false sense of connection. The constant barrage of curated lives, highlight reels, and superficial interactions can leave us feeling inadequate, envious, and ultimately, more disconnected. This digital paradox highlights the importance of mindful technology use and prioritizing genuine face-to-face interactions. While technology can be a valuable tool for staying connected, it should not replace the richness and depth of human interaction. Section 5. The social media mirage, curated lives, and the comparison trap. Social media in particular has become a breeding ground for loneliness. The curated feeds, meticulously crafted personas, and relentless pursuit of likes and validation create a distorted view of reality. We compare our behind-the-scenes struggles to others' highlight reels, leading to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and social isolation. This constant comparison game can fuel a vicious cycle of loneliness. As we scroll through seemingly perfect lives, our own imperfections and vulnerabilities feel magnified, leading to further social withdrawal and isolation. Breaking free from this social media mirage requires a conscious effort to curate our online experiences. Unfollowing accounts that trigger feelings of inadequacy, limiting our social media consumption, and focusing on real-life connections. can help us regain perspective and combat feelings of loneliness. Section 6. When quantity doesn't equal quality. Superficial connections and the yearning for depth. The rise of online communication has also contributed to a culture of superficial connections. We may have hundreds of online friends, yet lack true intimacy and emotional depth in our relationships. While casual acquaintances and online connections can provide a sense of belonging, they cannot replace the fulfillment that comes from deep, meaningful relationships. Loneliness, in many ways, is a yearning for depth, a longing for genuine connection and understanding. It's the feeling of being unseen, unheard, and unknown, even when surrounded by people. Combating loneliness in a crowded room requires cultivating meaningful connections. This involves engaging in authentic conversations, practicing active listening, and sharing our true selves with others, even if it feels vulnerable. Section 7. Real-life loneliness. Case studies and everyday examples. Consider Sarah, a college student who moved to a new city for school. Surrounded by classmates and roommates, Sarah still felt a profound sense of loneliness. She couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider, her attempts at conversation feeling forced and awkward. Despite being physically present, Sarah felt emotionally invisible, her true self hidden behind a wall of social anxiety. Or take Michael, a successful executive who, despite having a loving family and a wide circle of acquaintances, felt increasingly isolated. His days were filled with meetings and networking events, yet none of these interactions scratched the surface of genuine connection. Michael yearned for deeper conversations, for someone to truly see and understand him beyond his professional facade. These stories, while fictionalized, reflect the very real experiences of countless individuals struggling with loneliness in a crowd. It's a silent epidemic, affecting people from all walks of life, regardless of age, social status, or relationship status. Section 8. Navigating social settings, practical tips for combating loneliness. So how do we navigate this paradox of loneliness in a crowd? How do we bridge the chasm between ourselves and others, fostering genuine connection in an increasingly disconnected world? Here are a few practical tips. 1. Be kind to yourself. Acknowledge that feeling lonely in social settings is common and doesn't reflect negatively on you as a person. 2. Reframe negative thoughts about yourself and your social abilities. Instead of focusing on perceived flaws, highlight your strengths and positive qualities. 3. Begin by engaging in low-pressure social interactions, such as striking up a conversation with a barista, complimenting a stranger, or joining a club or group based on your interests. 4. Engage genuinely in conversations, focusing on truly hearing and understanding the other person's perspective. Ask open-ended questions, offer empathy, and create a safe space for authentic sharing. 5. Sharing your true self with others, even if it feels uncomfortable, is crucial for building intimacy and trust. Start small by sharing a personal anecdote or expressing your genuine opinion on a topic. 6. Stepping outside your comfort zone is essential for growth and connection. Challenge yourself to initiate conversations, even if it feels awkward at first. Remember, building meaningful connections takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself, embrace the journey, and celebrate small victories along the way. Section 9. Finding your tribe. Cultivating meaningful connections. Ultimately, combating loneliness is about finding your tribe, the people who truly see you, appreciate you, and accept you for who you are. This may involve seeking out like-minded individuals through shared interests, hobbies, or values. It may mean reaching out to old friends, rekindling dormant relationships, or putting yourself out there in new social circles. Finding your tribe is an ongoing journey, not a destination. It requires vulnerability, authenticity, and a willingness to embrace both the joys and challenges of human connection. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Millions of people are navigating the complexities of loneliness, seeking genuine connection in an increasingly disconnected world. By embracing vulnerability, practicing compassion, and cultivating meaningful connections, we can bridge the chasm of loneliness and create a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued.